Hello and welcome to Money Free Economics episode 2. In this episode, we'll talk about food. If you want to get in touch with me, my email is in the top left corner of the screen. So, we want objectives in the food sector. We want people to consume food freely. It can have private and state parts, and production can be automated. Data collecting can be computerized. So, how we'll do that is people are going to use this e-government department to basically order food for themselves, order production, and order delivery. And we'll get into that in the next slide. The Library of Food. Government processes everyone's orders and plans for the most efficient production plan. So all you have to do is basically press on what you want to eat and it will be made for you. Most work is going to be done by volunteers and machines. There'll be three food sectors: primary, secondary, and third. Raw food agriculture. Private farmers, they can get free machinery and supplies. They can sell their product to farmers markets to the citizens. They can sell their stuff to the governments, which are going to put that in the supermarkets. Or they can be assisted by the government to export their produce. Public farms are to be established immediately. So hydroponics and greenhouses and vertical farms are all part of that. Increase of 1 ton per hectare to 10 tons. I've seen this done. And obviously, with respect to that, land quality should be level or improving. People can also get their own plot of land to produce what they want. Livestock and meat products and butchers are also included in this. Fisheries, so basically fishermen, work in more or less the same way. They can export their fish, they can sell their stuff to the government, or they can sell it to the citizens. There'll be governmental packaging and processing warehouses. So let's say each sea can have their own, let's say Baltic Sea Fishing Corporation or Western Mediterranean Fishing Corporation. They can have something like that. And that will centralize the distribution of food, the processing and packaging and distribution of food. We'll also have river fishing and land-based fish farms, but obviously the entire fishing sector is going to have to conform to limits of exploitation to make sure that in the future the fish populations are still productive. So the food industry, let's say Oreo cookies, you like it a lot. The government will try to make that free for you in the sense that it will pay the Oreo Corporation to make those for you. Uh, and basically the government will incur the cost. Local baking factories exist as well. They should be tailored to produce the exact recipe a customer wants, so that they're not always producing the same, just mass producing stuff. Regional food industry. A lot of the second sector food can be regionally branded. But if all the ingredients aren't found in the region, then sorry, demand if the demand is high, then they may have to look for ingredients in other regions, and that will change the recipe. So there's that. um, Farmers markets and supermarkets. We have to keep in mind that schools and hospitals need to be supplied with food as well. Um, there will be private dining establishments and public dining establishments. There'll be to-door deliveries. So public dining establishments are going to be done by petition of the people. Let's say if you don't have an Indian restaurant next to you, very near you, you can petition the government to make one for you. And then the government will implement that and basically establish that venue for you. Private catering establishments, they won't be taxed, um, and they can be made by anyone, but they have to come to an agreement with the government as to what they're selling, what the price of that is selling, how are they gonna be supplied, how is that stuff gonna be made with what ingredients, etc. What area is that gonna come from, public or private, things like that. Foreign chain restaurants can also be introduced, so things like McDonald's can be introduced. But it would be a good idea to actually amend their McDonald's recipes to make them more better nutritionally or things like that. Importing food. So importing food will also go through the library of food. The government is going to sign all the contracts overseas and haul this stuff by rail or by merchant ship. All you have to do is um, click on the library of food. Migrants coming to the country, they can also be supported and freely allowed to make their own establishments based on their own culture. So we want a public drive to decrease meat consumption. We want vegetarianism and veganism to be satisfied with their own food lines. Um, Alcohol and tobacco are also going to be available. So people should have 2 years of food on hand. Some governments have been telling this to their citizens in case there's a drought or a public emergency. Emergency food packages can be stocked by the government as a sort of strategic food reserve, and hydroponic food can actually be used um, to make these meal ready to eat. Especially if people prefer to consume soil stuff, stuff grown on the soil instead of hydroponically. So we want all food that isn't long term storage to be completely plastic and aluminum free. Um, yes, all liquids will be packaged in glass bottles. We already do that more or less. For example, with beer, and then when you consume a beer bottle, you put it back in the rack, and then that gets recycled. So that's not too far fetched. Other food will be paper packaged, and also sort of reusable bags can be used, and not the plastic ones, but like fabric ones, stuff like that. Rotting food could be used for compost. We can also introduce volcanic ash or something like that. Volcanic ash is probably really hard to get for a macro sort of on a large scale, but something to that effect can be done. Um, we can use drones for a lot of things, but we will also need tractors and other machines. But obviously, where drones can be used, we shouldn't be using tractors because all that steel on the tractor we can use for something else. State and public owned. That's. I'll go to the next slide. You can pause if you want to read it. Last comment. So all of this logistics is going to be done by rail. Malls and supermarkets have to be really rich to sort of really well supplied to to be viable every day. To not like have shortages in the middle of the day. Other things. Not much to say. You can also pause this slide. That will be that for this presentation. Thank you for watching.